Deck the halls with boughs of holly. Ba la 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 la.
Please keep going.
No, you're meant to. Now's your cue. 'Tis the season.
Oh, to be jolly. Yeah, and
Ba la 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 la.
well done. That's a good intro to today.
It is.
Yeah.
We're talking about Christmas. And Joy and Silliness, we've got a lovely friend in our little group. Am I allowed to say his name?
Yeah, I think so. We'll say just go first names.
Mr. Derek.
Mr. Derek.
Mr. Derek was asking us a very important question about Christmas in the group. Have you got the question there or the gist of it?
Yeah, hang on. It says, any tips for tapping into that silly festive mood around holiday parties?
Yes, we've got loads.
3 years sober, but I feel a bit boring sometimes.
How many years sober? 3.
Check that out.
Hell. Well done, buddy. Well done. Congratulations. And please do let us know what you're doing to celebrate your soberversary, people call it, don't they? Couldn't get right into it, whole soberversary. Right. First top tip is...
I'm sorry, I can't stop looking at that. It looks like you've just put your Christmas hat in the wash.
It
and
is.
it's like shrunk.
Right. So the first top tip is don't be like Sam with a boring black beanie hat on.
Yeah.
Either buy yourself a Present and Sober podcast beanie.
Oh yeah.
The merch store.
Yeah,
link with the show notes. Or get one like mine. Look at me with my little baby Santa hat on.
And a Santa hat.
It's fucking awesome.
This
is one of the things. Yeah, it is weird, but I do love it. It's like
it's great
because it doesn't move.
It suits you. It's almost if you'd have been born like that, it probably wouldn't have looked weird. Well, it would have looked weird, you know what I mean? But it would have been like, oh yeah, that suits.
Yes, like it does feel very much a part of me. I don't know what the kids are going to make of this because it is theirs, but you know,
they won't even know.
Sharing's caring, isn't it? So, well, no, they don't know right now. So I'm going to make the most of borrowing their headbands. So the first top tip is go and get some festive headbands because there's all sorts out there and they're brilliant. And you can't help but feel a little festive and silly donning one. I'll tell you what, do you know what it reminded me of? One of my teachers, I really like him for lots of reasons, including he swears, keeps it real, and he's very good humoured. And some of the story, you know, the whole storytelling bit, some of the stories that he tells are very amusing and funny. He's just, you know, a brilliant speaker in that way. And one of the things that stuck with me from the early days of getting to know him was he was talking about how we can take ourselves too seriously at times. And he said, go and get, so here's a practice for you, go and get one of those squidgy red clown noses and keep it in your desk. And whenever you feel like you're getting a little bit serious, you're taking yourself a little bit too seriously, put it on and have a little look at yourself. Because like, yes. what can you do? It's a bit like, you know, my little hat right now. So
I mean, it's making me feel silly and joyful. So yeah, I think it's
formidable. The ears are slightly out of proportion, but you know.
I like what you said. I actually one of my intentions for last year, because I think it can be really easy, particularly on like a spiritual path or the path or whatever you want to call it, to get very earnest and to get very kind of serious. And there's a time for that, I guess. But also, you know, it seems to me like the cosmos, it's got one great sense of humor. It likes to fuck around. So I would there's going to be something powerful just in setting your intention. So I went to a festival last year, and my theme for it, because there's all sorts of weird shit that goes on there, and I wanted to go and do all of the sacred silliness kind of workshops and stuff, because I knew I can like being in front of people and being silly. It's weird because I've done it a lot, but I still get a bit insecure about that stuff.
I know. And do you know how I know, Mr. Sam?
How do you know?
Because when we went to Bewilderwood together, you didn't want to get your little face painted.
Yeah, but I did. And then
you did.
Then I got bit by some really angry bug. Do you remember? Like on my leg. It absolutely.
I don't think that was face paint related.
So there's a message. Be prepared for some kind of strange insect bite if you engage in silliness. Oh yeah, look.
We've got our matchy mugs as well today. Big shout out to the February 2022 Path crew.
Woo.
Thank you very much. Wonderful people. We're both sipping from our big path mugs.
Who wants to? Why have it? If you're not going to give me a big tea, don't bother. Like, I don't want a shot for tea. I want a big one.
Do you know what? We need one in the merch store as well. Big
Yeah,
tea.
right.
Yeah, and put that on it.
Yeah.
What did you just
fuck
say?
small cups of tea.
If you're going to make me a small one, I don't want it.
Yeah. Make it big. Size matters. That's yeah. Right. We'll crack on with that. That'll happen. But
Well,
yeah,
and
just setting that intention and just, because without an intention, without that kind of just, because it is just a mode switch, right? It is just, so I know it's really interesting if you hang out. I've mentioned this before, but you go hang out in cultures where they don't drink, and partying and joy and silliness it's not like related to a substance or anything. It's like it's just like a switch of the dial and then they're in it. So I think I said to you, I went to that marathon. I didn't run it, but I got, it's so weird. I got brought out on stage. I was in an ashram about an hour away, and we went down to the village, and the people who ran this thing found out that there were some people from far away. So I just got stuck out on the middle of this stage in front of thousands of people. And there we go. I had to dance. So, there we go. I was pushed into it. But everybody was partying their asses off at like 10 a.m. And it was so clear that it was just, if you take alcohol out the picture, you can be silly and go into party mode at like 8:20 in the morning if you want. Why not dance around the lounge in your pants? Who gives a shit, eh?
Yeah. Something happens when we grow up, right? And that this is why I love being around the kids, because they will crack up at the silliest things. And my son Chester in particular, he's got such a wicked little laugh on him, and once he gets going, he can't stop, that boy. And it's infectious. And it's just, it's complete nonsense. At his birthday party, so he just had his 8th birthday party recently, and there's a bunch of like 15 boys. He had a gaming party. This is really cool. You can get, some guy comes, puts a tent up in your garden, fills it with computer screens and virtual reality stuff and what have you, and then they're just out there having fun. So really enjoyed his party, and then all the boys come in, and then they had their party food and what have you. And whilst the cake proceedings are being prepared, I put some music on for them, and my son really loves the Macarena. That that's with the.
Do I know the Macarena?
Yeah.
Do you think I am?
So I put that on, and then the uproar. These kids, it was so funny. So Sam's now doing the dance, so you'll get a little bit of that on. Ooh, look at the little wiggle. Get that on the reels on Instagram. But so at the holiday park I take the kids to, there's a version of it that goes hamburger, cheeseburger, lettuce and tomato, hamburger, cheeseburger, lettuce and tomato, hamburger, cheeseburger, lettuce and tomato, and then they go, hey, Macarena at the end. But what the kids were doing, there's a thumbs. What the kids were doing was they were doing the hamburger, cheeseburger, lettuce and tomato, and at the end they were going, hey, Macarena, and then they were doing that thing, where you blow a fart noise on your skin. And so all these boys in unison like that, and they were absolutely like wetting themselves laughing, screaming, laughing, and it just went on and on and on and on. And it's the silliest, most joyful thing, and you can't help but get swept up in it. So being around kids is a really, you don't have to have your own. In fact, it's perhaps preferable to not have your own and be able to give them back, but maybe don't just
take other people's kids
without asking. Or hanging around like the local school or anything.
Do you want to come do the Macarena?
Yeah.
No.
But yeah, be more childlike for sure.
The thing that kids, I was going to say no, but I think probably don't know, or no, don't know. Depends how you look at it. Is that like that little bit of insecurity or whatever at the beginning? If you face it head on and walk straight into it, you'd be amazed what happens. I have a really good friend, V. He lives in London, and he's the best dancer I've ever seen. Not a drop of. I think I told you about that story when we were at that local festival near me, absolutely dancing and giving it someone. Some bloke came up to him, was absolutely off his chops, and he was like, "Oh, mate, what are you on, mate?" And V's like, "Oh, mate, I'm on endorphins." And the bloke's like, "Oh, did you bring your own?"
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, I did. Sorry, I don't have any for sale. But he was like, and I've heard a bunch of people say to him, like, how do you let go like that? He's like, turn up, just dance like you don't give a shit for 10, 15 minutes. And then your body just gets filled with like endorphins and happy chemicals. And then you kind of, you're just really high on life. I mean, I know this. I went to a rave like a couple of months ago, and I was just high on life the whole way through. I was like, I think I had a Diet Coke. So, not sure that had much to do with it. I was just, because I was there in the moment and let go and just didn't give a shit. I started to fill up with that. So there's something to that. So I think it's really natural to know that we're going to, when we go to the Christmas party at work or at home or whatever, there might be that kind of bit of time at the beginning where we feel a little bit insecure. Like, yes, okay, you're a human, allow that. And just know it's safe to go through that, and then you'll find that all that joy and stuff on the other side, because it comes from within us, right? It comes from within us. There's no party, no matter how good the party is, there's no party or circumstance powerful enough to make anybody joyful. This is why some people are like miserable at parties and some people are like absolutely happy anywhere. They're like all fun wherever they go, because the fun's coming from within them. So kids know that, right? They haven't sort of learned to believe in the insecurities so much. They kind of just forget themselves and then get carried away with their games, or like,
Yes. And this is why there's something in what in your friend's tactic, and the same thing about the silly headbands thing, of when you kind of get beyond the feeling self-conscious, there's this whole like pot of gold behind it. So the thing that I love about the silly headbands thing, and this has happened to me many a time as a mum, the kids have done something like put a silly headband on me, or stuck a sticker to my back, or
classic, that one.
what do you know what one of my ultimate favorites was? One of my daughters, I think it must have been my eldest, I think it must have been Pearl, because it was a few years ago. She got one of these tattoos and she stuck it right in the middle of like the top bit of my chest here. And then I realized it wasn't going to come off. And that's when I was going to Vegas for my friend's wedding. And I was like, oh, fuck, how the hell do you get these things off? Baby oil, I now know.
There you go.
But the point being that there are times where I effectively look a bit silly for one reason or another, but I've forgotten that I've got the thing on, or I haven't realized I've got the thing on. And then somebody kind of like points it out to you, or you have the realization of, oh, I've been walking around like a bit of a dick for the last half an hour or so. And then you think, oh, fuck it, because everyone's seen me anyway. So it's kind of getting beyond that, when your friend was saying like, just go for it for 5 minutes and then you're going to be perfectly fine after. That there's something in that tactic for sure.
If we believe in the insecurity and we just hang out there and don't go beyond it, then often we kind of have one of those nights where we're trying to get out, I think, or trying to escape and stuff. But we don't have to. I know that sounds really mad, but whatever's moving through our thought system, whatever's moving through our special effects department at the moment, it's not giving us an indication as to what's going on out there in the world. It's just telling us what's happening in our thinking. So if we have silly, fun, playful thinking, well, that will be our reality. And if we have insecure thinking, that will be. So if you notice it, just don't panic. Just look in a different direction, and you'll soon see something else arrive. And having said that, I think that there are, I've written here on my, those really detailed podcast notes that we take.
Yeah, I mean, Stam.
Who's Stam?
To know some bloke. Stam is a fucking stickler for like having procedure and policy and.
Mate, yeah. Do you know how many words have been used to plan this podcast episode? Hang on, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 11 words have been used to plan this podcast episode, excluding the title. Excluding the title, which we haven't decided on yet. So, but hey, I think there is definitely something to be said for, set ourselves up for success. To the best of our ability. And for me, I don't know what this looks like to you, mate, but for me, it's, for example, if I go to a wedding, I always, after the last one, from now on, I will always put some alcohol-free beer or whatever in the boot of the car, because you can't guarantee it's going to be there.
Mm.
So like it could be doing that, it could be bringing your own stuff with you, it could be letting the host know ahead of time that you're going to be bouncing at 9 or 10 o'clock or whatever, or setting your time, talking to your partner and saying, look, I really want to go, but is it all right with you if I tug your left ear 3 times? That means that we've got half an hour and we need to leave or whatever. It's that looks like setting ourselves up for success. Because the one thing that I know for me back in the day, anyway, I don't really worry about this anymore. But if I felt trapped in a situation, if I felt like I didn't
Mm.
have any kind of exit route or anything like that, then that can be a bit of a thing. Yeah, and do don't worry. I mean, like I gave up the game of worrying or giving a shit what other people might think about when I go home and stuff like that, like ages ago. Like I just don't care. Like it's not my business to worry about what other people think.
Well, that's true, and people don't fucking notice.
No,
My
they
favorite one
don't.
recently was on one of my lovely path calls, one of my lovely path groups. There's a UK-based guy who I really enjoy talking to him. He's fabulous guy, having a fabulous journey. I remember how he came in at the beginning and where he's at now. It's just quite incredible. And I was chatting to him a couple of weeks ago, and he was going to a sober, well, not a sober, he was going to a wedding and he wanted to be sober at the wedding. He'd had kind of a lad's holiday prior and realized that without a firm intention, i.e., I'm not going to drink. Like if you go, oh, I might not, I'll just see. Well, of course, you then drink. And so he wanted to go into this with a really clear intention and a level of preparation around it that he hadn't afforded himself for the other trip. And he was just like solid, like the stuff that he planned to do, taking his own drinks. And I'd said to him, are you, the kids aren't going with you? He's like, no. I was like, you've got a night in a hotel on your own. It's like, yeah, I'm going to get some sleep. And so he was really like excited about the whole thing, had, knowing that he could at any point in time, he can go to his room and, even just go and having a bath or something. So really just so proud of him in how he prepared himself. And then he said, well, and my wife's one of the bridesmaids, and so I've talked to her about this, and I'm going to speak to the bride, and I'm just going to talk to her in advance. I'm going to let her know that if I leave early,
Yeah.
that it's not because I'm not enjoying myself or da da da. And he went through this whole thing. He's like really thought about having this conversation with her, and I went, name of person, mate. She ain't gonna fucking notice, mate. It's her wedding day, not yours. Like she's not gonna give a shit, mate. Like I love the sentiment behind it. I love that you care so
Yeah, of
much
course.
about her experience, but trust me, she's not gonna notice one bit. And I think because we care so much, we have this. It's almost like not the weight of the world on your shoulders, but it's like you're taking on responsibility for things that simply aren't your responsibility.
Yeah, sure.
And it's not until you go through these experiences that you realize, oh, so after the first drink, people stop asking you about why you're not drinking. All right, that's interesting. Well, I've worried some because I used to do this. I used to be really worried about, well, if I leave early, am I then going to be seen as, oh, she's no fun anymore? But people just don't notice when you leave. Why don't they notice? Because they're pissed. They can't remember when you left.
Yeah,
So
I mean,
it's fascinating.
nothing good happens after 12 o'clock anyway. Like I can't imagine that I'd be there until midnight. I'd be way more be out the door well before Cinderella, that's for sure. Talking probably like 10 or 11 at the latest, right? But yeah, exactly. People are, I mean, this is the one I do kind of still sometimes just nip out and just go, because people do that thing sometimes. You go and say goodbye to a load of people, and we can make our own way with this. Like I've got, it doesn't really matter. People might be like, oh, don't go, blah blah blah, and then like 5 minutes later they're doing another shot or like doing whatever silliness they're up to, and they just, they don't even know, they wouldn't even remember anyway. So yeah, I love that. As you were talking, and as I was thinking back to Chester and his party, I was thinking, well, there's also games, right? So me and Robin have got a get together coming up sometime soon, and we've planned a few different games in. We're gonna have a. Do you ever do a Beetle drive? Do you remember them?
A
Going back,
Beetle drive.
you never done a Beetle drive. It's like you roll dice, and each number on the die corresponds to like a bit of the bug like the big.
I
Yeah, you go.
had
You've
that game
forgotten.
when I was a
There
kid.
you go, because you're from the 80s, mofo, so you know what I'm talking
Oh,
about.
you've just given me a vision of a
Yes,
game I used to have as a
I'm
kid.
good at giving people visions. So you collect it, and then the first person to get the full beetle. So we're going to get people to do, well, in celebration of Robin's name around Christmas, we're going to get people to draw Robins or whatever, and we're going to. So that's one game. We have a name game where we kind of like put a load of, everybody thinks of a load of different famous people or whatever, and puts them all in a hat. I'm sure we've all
That way you
played
stick
that
that
game.
on your forehead.
You can
Business.
like that. That's good, but yeah, all those kinds of things they all work. But just get a few games in, because the one thing I found is that, and this works for sober dating, this works for everything, is that if there isn't like a centerpiece, if there isn't something, then
Yes.
we can kind of feel like the light's on us. But the moment we bring a game in or whatever, then the focus goes on to that thing, and it takes us out of our own, and puts our puts our focus into the activity, and then things loosen up. Because the truth is, it's like whenever we notice that we've got a bit insecure or that there's something going on, all we need to remember is that that feeling is in us. It's not in the world. It's not a quality of the party that we're a part of, because it can really look like it is, right? If we've started to get a bit insecure, it can really look like it's coming from the party and all that kind of stuff. Just
Mm.
reminding ourselves it's not coming from there, and then going and doing something that kind of helps us get out our own way, like play a game, or go and be genuinely curious, go and ask people some questions. And I used to kind of have little things I did. I used to say to myself, okay, I'm gonna talk to 3 people I haven't met before, and I'm gonna find out 3 or 4 things about them, and here are the things that I want to know. Because that classic British thing that we do, we're like, all right, mate, what's your name? John. Oh, John, is it? Yeah, all right. What do you do? Just put a bit more thought in about your
Mm.
questions prior, and get curious about people. People are fascinating. And yeah, it's the moment we fall into connection, then we're like that kid who was a bit anxious at the beginning of the party, who's then like clinging to the table leg, and they're like crying because their mum's like, we've got to
Yeah.
go home now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know what I think might be a really lovely thing in our little Facebook group? Our massive fucking Facebook
Oh,
group
it's
is
huge.
to have a little thread about party games,
Yes,
silly party games.
let's do
Uh,
that.
I think that'd be a really nice little thing to share around, because this is that like I was at a recent family do, and family do's in my family have just always been drinking occasions, right?
Mm.
So I don't drink. My sister drinks very little. And so
I
it's
don't
like,
think I
well,
even knew you had a sister.
yes, Melissa, big sis.
Is it? Oh, there you go.
Yes. Yeah. So my auntie, my lovely auntie, my dad's sister, had prepared for us a quiz.
Awesome.
And it was really cool, because then when you've got something that brings everyone together that you can focus on, that it sparks conversation and competitiveness, and it 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 just it changes your own point of focus, and I think that might be a really nice little thing to have in the
Mm.
Facebook group, just for inspo, give people ideas. And the other
So,
thing that
go
might
on.
be nice alongside this is another thread about gentle Christmas pranks. So I was at a meal recently with some mums from Robin classes, is Noah's little class group. And one of them, she's so funny. She's got a really dry sense of humor. She's hilarious. I love spending time with her. And she was saying that her partner's family, in-laws, very serious, intensely
Mm.
serious. And she described their view of Christmas is like they'll go through all of the proceedings of Christmas, and then at the end go, check, that's another Christmas done. And she's like, wow. So to lighten up last Christmas, she this is so silly, but it cracked me up. She got a sprout and put a sprout into one of the Christmas crackers. So when they then had the meal and they pulled the crackers, this sprout fell out and rolls across the table, right? And they were all just bemused, like, oh, there's a sprout there. Where's that come from? Still like deadpan serious, like She's like, okay. So mild Christmas pranks, I think, can be a nice, because even if other people don't find it funny, you will. You'll be
Yeah.
smiling inside.
That's true, actually. It's like that. Well, entertaining yourself is actually really, really important. I think when I'm coaching, people will, I want to have a good time. So
Mm.
like that seems important. So I'll be entertaining myself. Lots of people don't laugh at my jokes. Don't know why. Must be them, not me. But yeah, entertain yourself. Right. So I was going back through our kind of top tips so far. So it's set an intention for to be silly, sacred silliness. Uh, Set yourself up for success. Consider games and that kind of thing.
Consider games.
Consider gameage. And another one I think that's really important for all of us with all things Christmas, actually, not just parties and family get-togethers and gatherings and stuff, is clean the slate, right? Because most of us, we carry around with us a whole bunch of,
Mm.
oh, it's always like this because it's been like this for so long and all that kind of stuff. And the thing about carrying any kind of expectation, and we've done some great podcasts on this, I think, if I say so myself. We've recorded some
We
podcasts that
fucking nailed it, Sam. It
they
was
were good.
awesome. I almost
That was,
listened to
I
episode.
did enjoy that one. It is good. Expectations versus intentions, or something like that. If anyone's interested, go have a look. But the moment we carry any of that around with us, then we'll look for evidence of that. Like what the thinker thinks, the prover proves. That's kind of how how our human psychology works. So if we're looking in a different direction with a clean slate, if we're kind of like, yeah, okay, because I think about some of the relationships that I've had in my life with people that have completely 180'd, basically, and the other person is just doing what they've done, right? But it's me that's changed. Like I'm no longer kind of annoying myself about them or anything like that. It's just the thinking's not there anymore. So things that used to really wind me up about people will kind of endear me to them and make me laugh and giggle now. And I didn't even know that was possible, right? So yeah, clean the slate. Whatever story you've got about Christmas parties, whatever story you've got about anything. And if you're on your first alcohol-free Christmas or your second or third or whatever, you've got a really powerful opportunity to do this, right? Because you're not only are you clearing the slate, you've cleared your system as well.
Mm.
And so you're not going to be full of you know like for me, I mean, I don't know about you, mate, but I think for a lot of people there's wrapped up in the kind of, oh god, what's going to happen, is that, oh god, what's going to happen, like what am I going to do, what am I going to say to my boss, like what's my boss going to say to me, like all that kind of stuff. It's really nice to kind of know that you can not have your brain in lane and actually do silly things on your watch, on your kind of with intention, rather than silliness based on our brain melting in the face of a toxic substance that's pouring through it, that makes us say that thing we shouldn't say or do that thing we shouldn't do. Hence why work parties are a classic, aren't they, for the whole people embarrassing themselves and whatnot. So
Mm.
yeah, drop it all. Get rid of it all. Whenever you notice yourself telling yourself a story, you don't even need to, as it looks to me, I don't think you even necessarily need to kind of come up with a new story. You can just go into it, just trust in that sense of creativity and stuff that you have inside of you, and just see what happens, and if you've set yourself up for success, you might be really surprised.
Mm.
I'll shut up in a minute because I've been waffling, but I actually had a coaching call with one of my dear clients the other day, and she was off to basically going away on holiday with a group of friends. And this is so cool. They'd like rented out a small town in the middle of like America somewhere.
What?
Sweet. But I don't think it's like it's a small town. There's like no one that really lives there. So someone obviously owns a few properties or whatever. They've got a group of people to go there. And she realized as we were having this session that it really felt to her like all of her experience and her feelings and stuff were coming from the inevitable doom of what was going to happen and the over drinking that was going to happen and all this kind of stuff. And she woke up to that in the middle and was like, oh yeah, I've been outside in on this, right? I've really been thinking that I'm not even there yet, and I've been living in this kind of dream. And she in an instant was like, oh, I'm really excited. And I get to go and have this amazing experience, like in the, and let's see what happens. Let's see what happens. So yeah, clean the slate.
What number are we up to? Because I've got a banger, but
Go on
I'm
then.
wondering whether it's a good one to finish on. How
Go on
many are
then.
we up to? Is that 4 things?
Always good to finish on a banger, isn't it? Do it.
Because this would be number 5. So I'm assuming it's number 5. So celebrate your successes, right?
Yeah.
Because we're just shit at this, frankly. But you are going to garner and gather so
Are you
many
going to Ghana?
Eh?
It's hot there. But,
No, not Ghana. No, it's my accent, mate.
oh right, sorry.
Not Ghana, but not like Africa. Like I was about to launch into Shakira then. Waka waka. Anyway, that's another thing.
Come on.
Do that dance later. I've heard so many stories recently, so many, and it's wonderful, celebratory stories where people are like, I've rallied them into this, like, you have to celebrate your stuff. Everything from, wow, I was in the supermarket the other day and I was enjoying the festive mood.
Wham in the background.
And I wasn't like drawn to the massive, gondola end of Bailey's. Yeah. How liberating to not be dragged into buying Bailey's this Christmas. Woohoo! So it's all of these little, seemingly little moments. They're so worth celebrating because particularly if this is your first alcohol-free Christmas, you are going to be having all sorts of experiences right now that are vastly different to whence you've had before. Is that even a phrase? You know what I mean?
Yeah, you've gone on Victorian. I kind of like it.
No, I was getting all Dickensian there for a second. From henceforth, anyway, this kind of plays into what you were saying before around wiping the slate clean. You're then opening up this space for new possibility, and so it's really important that you celebrate what you see and feel in those new experiences.
I love it. I love it. Right. Recap. You ready for this? 1, yeah. Intentions. 2, set yourself up for success. 3, do some silly shit like games. 4, wipe the slate clean. I can't look at my hand. I can't do this. 5, celebrate your successes.
And if you want to really celebrate, get yourself to the merch store, whatever the link is, and buy yourself some sober. Yeah, buy yourself some sober merch as your reward this Christmas, and feel really, really proud and firm in your intention. And also it's a great place, for that last minute Christmas shopping that you might need to do. Buy some sober gifts, spread the sober love.
Spread the sober love. Yep. I love it. We need to be careful because I worry that every time I sing, because I'm in a league of my own, you might say, I'm worried that we're going to get some kind of copyright infringement when this goes up on YouTube, because they do like a song match thing. So I think I probably need to be careful. I stopped myself from singing Wham because I thought, if I do that, George's crew,
we're going to have been got for the Macarena, Waka Waka, last Christmas. What did I sing at the beginning? I sang something Christmassy at the beginning.
Joy to the world. No, it wasn't that. No, maybe it was.
It was the fa la 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 one.
Yeah. Right. Okay, I like that. I think that was joyful. That was a joyful episode.
And triumphant.
Joyful. Yeah, no, I can't do that. I can't do that. But no, really good. So yeah, go hide a Brussels sprout in your Christmas pud.
Or somewhere else.
Go hide a Christmas pud in your turkey. Or what?
Let's see who can hide the Brussels sprout in the silliest place this Christmas. Yeah. And please post your pictures on the Facebook group.
Yeah. It's got, and yeah, well, I was going to say make sure you cook it, but you can have raw Brussels, can't you? That's fine.
Yeah, especially if you're hiding them. Might be easier to hide.
What, because they're less, well, it depends how far you've cooked them.
Oh, wait, hiding them.
Hide one in the middle of a Ferrero Rocher. That's a bit of a effort, that though, isn't it? You could make one look like you could make a plate of Ferrero Rocher Brussels. You'd have to unwrap them and wrap them back up again. But someone out there is probably feeling the spirit and wanting to do that. There's a good idea though. Yeah, good Christmas pranks. I'll have to have a think and report back.
Can you imagine that though? Can you imagine serving a sprout dressed up as a Ferrero Rocher to somebody that's pissed? Because they're going to be so fucking confused. So confused.
I love it. Right. On that, what did you call it? Banger.
On that banger, yeah.
Banger. We'll leave it there. Right.
Enjoy the festive run up. Can't wait
Yeah.
to see where these sprouts are going.
I'm not sure where this will be, but I think this will be, well, actually this will be coming out like mid-December, won't it? So yes, enjoy the festivities, get out there, wrap up warm, go look at some cool shit.
But don't wrap up warm if you're in Australia because you get too hot. Bye.
Yeah. Bye. Oh, hang on. Stop.